Alrighty. How you doing, folks? Ron Raymond here from the Raymond Report, along with Ross Benjamin of Ross Benjamin Sports. It is Tuesday, August 25th. How you doing, Mr. Ross Benjamin?
Mr. Ross Benjamin's doing good, and I hope the same is for you, Ron. And still entertaining your family guest, I take it? You're just one heck of an entertainer and host.
I'm just one big party guy. Yeah, no, things are great, Ross. Thanks for asking. You know what? Pretty good day again yesterday with our selections. We went 2-1 overall. Had Cincinnati was the only loser. Close game. They, it came down to the bottom of the ninth. One man on and just grounded out. And we had the Minnesota Twins. They beat
Cleveland
3-2. Man, that pitcher Romo from Minnesota, eh? He's just a character. He's just you're just a character, man.
He always has that beard on the chin.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Muppets monster there.
Yes.
But yeah, you know what? He's got that slider that just goes down and in, and it's really tough to hit. And then
Minnesota's both of those bullpens are excellent, Ron.
Yeah, and then we went with the under yesterday with Arizona. The nice 3-2 win there. Colorado finally got off the losing column. Yeah. And so a pretty good day. How was your day?
1-1, buddy. 1-1. I kissed my sister yesterday.
Did you?
That's the phrase when we push. I actually lost like $10 on 100. So I had the St. Louis Cardinals and Kansas City game under 8.5. And 1-0 going in the bottom of the fifth. The game finishes 9-3. It happens. Yep. And then I had a nice winner on Oklahoma City plus the 3-1 outright against Houston in the NBA playoffs. So 1-1, 47-28. No, wait a minute, 48-29. Excuse me, with my last 77 premium paid selections in all sports. So I'm rolling along here, Ron. Just a little bit in a steady mode right now. I was on that torrid run for a while, but the key is not to have too many bad days in a row. And then try to regroup and start to get the ship sailing in the right direction again.
And this is what when I did my research a few years ago, and I talk about all the time, these performance cycles. Like you have a mindset or a theory of handicapping, and it's just in that development of the process of when you do your selections. There's ups and downs, right? And it's how I think handicapping comes to adjustments. And how do we adjust during certain cycles to keep that that streak going up? It's really tough, but the end of the day, the goal is to win and keep it consistent. And we're all gonna have a couple of days where we're gonna have hiccups, but guys like us, we have better days and bad days. Knock on wood when it comes to sports handicapping.
Thank God, right?
Hey, it goes with the territory. I'll take a 1-1 day. After a big streak. 1-1 is always better than 0-3, right?
Yep. Hey, Ron, and that's the thing. I've mentioned this before, and you just sparked my interest again. The thing with making adjustments is you need to assess how you won, how you lost. Now, there's times, and I'm sure you're in the same boat, where you look back the day before and say, okay, I went 1-2. Hypothetically, but the two losses, would I make those same picks again today? And if the answer is yes, there's not much to adjust. Sometimes there's miscellaneous factors that come about in which you lost games with just a little bit of bad luck. Now, there's other days where you look at it and say, what was I thinking? But that's a key, right, Ron? I mean,
absolutely.
Not to beat yourself up the next day, but to assess why you may have had a losing day. Even when you go 3-1, the game you lost. Like, for example, Saturday I won 3-1. The game I lost, I had the Lakers game over 224.5 and landed on 224. I'm not going to change a thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but, like yesterday, I look at that. Now, I'll assess that Kansas City-St. Louis game a little bit more and say, that was – why did I lose that game? At this point, I don't have an answer for you because I haven't got to that process yet. But that's key. And if you're going to do this on a daily basis and be professional like we are, what you just alluded to. You know what I mean? Is you have to pick up the pieces the next day after a losing day and move forward.
Well, I say this every time we log off, right? Shop for value, play those percentages, and the percentages it can go into the your handicapping cycle. Like I said, we have a fundamentals of handicapping, and everybody's fundamentals. Every handicapper that I know has a different rating system, grading system, process system, and what they put priority into what's important to them. And at the end of the day, Ross, you're talking about St. Louis, Kansas City. Well, I'll guarantee you, dollars to donuts, it comes down to percentage. Like, the guys at bat, Merrifield, Whit Merrifield, he's not going to go like 30-0 at the bat. Like he's going to eventually, maybe go 2-2, 1-3. And these are things that from a macro point of view, you got to track in the handicapping system on the percentage play. To me, Ross, the percentage play is such a huge factor because what goes up must come down, but it's trying to find the small cycle and the long cycles of the percentage plays and see, okay, does this percentage play, even though I do my research and I'll go to my database and I'll see a stat on the last 2 years that's something like 30-17. Well, it's still a winning stat. And if I can get indicators to match it up with other ones, and then I got myself
the key right there. That's the key right there. Don't get married to one. And you've said this on many times too, Ron. Don't get married to just one specific element in handicapping. Have various options, okay? And like Ron says, it's almost like a red flag comes up. You get an indicator that's real strong. Now, follow that up. Go down the list. If you're getting conflicting information beyond that indicator, more times than not, you should pass,
Yeah,
but now if you get your next under that indicator, if you get 7 or 8 positive matches that strengthens that play as it applies to your initial indicator, then you got a good play.
Yeah, just make sure that indicator is not always on the same team, because you got to really track, the percentages of those indicators that you're not always going to the well with the same team all the time, right?
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
All right, with that, Ross, we're going to go right into the SBI, and I'm going to do a screen share here. See how sharp I am on a Tuesday here today.
You haven't had to be reminded in a while.
Yeah, that's good. I'm on to, hey.
Your wife must have bought you some new brand of coffee because you're right on the ball, right?
Yeah, I'm Focus. It's called Focus. Focus caffeinated. All right, so looking at the MLB, Ross, on the straight up factor on a 7-day average. Hey, I haven't seen this in a while. A neutral market for favorites. 53.1 of the favorites have come in the last 7 days. And, look at the 1 month average. We're still in the 60% range at 63. But things are cooling down for the favorites, Ross. And that's good news if you're an underdog bettor.
Absolutely. I mean, again, we were so hesitant to suggest that you should strongly looking at underdogs, because the favorites, we never knew when that was going to end. But you have to see some kind of pattern. First of all, you have to see that change a little bit, and then that pattern change over, like Ron says, over a 3 to 7 day period. And then you can get a little more comfortable with dabbling into the underdogs. But I mean, if you're an underdog player this year, you've taken a bath, unless you're just one of those guys that's been very select in how you pick underdogs, and you've been able to pick a needle out of a haystack every day. That's basically what it is.
Yeah. And looking at the over-unders here, it's been pretty neutral here. 51.7% the last 7 days, 48.7 on the season. And on the 1 month average, we're at 50.6. So it's still open season or over under. So depending on your feel for a game, and this is where streaks really come into play when you're monitoring, because if we're in a neutral market and you get two teams that have say 3, 4, 5, or like Arizona, I think it's 5 unders or 6 unders in the last few games. Eventually that tide is going to turn, and now you start maybe going the other way. But my rule of thumb is I don't like to mess with streaks, especially in the side. but the over-under is not so much because there's two teams that it involves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, case in point, I had Kansas City under yesterday. They had been 8-0-1 under the total in their last 9 games. So,
yeah. Hey, that
exactly what
happens,
you're
right?
saying.
And
Yeah.
we just did a 5-minute monologue on that on trying to find those indicators and when you get on and off them, right?
Yep.
So, all right, NBA,
I
Ross.
will say one thing, Ron, if I could add. I mean, that 48.7% on the over, we've been in a neutral market for a while, if I'm not mistaken, on the over and unders, because if you recall, up until last week, the unders had been hitting at a very high rate to start the year. Remember, Ron?
Yeah.
And then eventually the overs came up, and we got to around 48% and above, and it's pretty much held steady over the last week or so at that number. So we're in a neutral market now with the over and unders, and you've said it a million times. You can't disregard totals, folks. You can't, because think about this: the more choices you have, the better chance. Ron always says at the end of every show to try to identify value, or somewhere along those lines. Ron,
shop for value.
Yeah, shop for value. So if you're eliminating looking at totals, you're eliminating half the board, Ron, right?
Yeah.
And you're reducing the choices, and you're eliminating the percentage of value plays you could find. So I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah. And folks, when you're doing your research, one day doesn't classify something that you should really focus on because of that one day. Like cycles could be a 7-day cycle like here, or a 14-day cycle like here from July 28th to August 10th. Look at all the unders that came in here, but the reversal of the tide happened right here. And now we're in a neutral market. So
look at that, when 7 days in a row.
So fire away on the over-unders. That's the way I take that approach because, So that's,
and you don't have to lay a lot of juice if indeed you lay in juice at all on the totals,
Yep. All right. Just a quick glance at the NBA, and then we'll get right into the so NBA, man. 71.4% of the favorites will come in. Look at this. The last few days, Ross, 4, 8, 11, 14, 17, and 1, 2, 3, 17 and 3 to the favorites. Tell me why you're not playing money lined parlays right there, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's just, and this is where I think I'm going. I got something cooking with this here, Ross. It's so tough. It's like, putting ping pong balls in the lottery, trying to pick the ATS the spreads here at 49.8% of the favorites. But let me see here on the 7-day average, 59.6, over unders 53.6, but 71.4 of the favorites. Man, to me,
look at the overs in the last 3 days, Ron.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's just it's
9 and 3, and you could really, and the one was sort of, the computer said it was an under. I had it as an over because it was within a point or a half a point. So you could, it could be as high as 10 and 2, and at the very least 9 and 3. Watch out for the unders in the next couple days.
And the only person who can control that is the bookmaker.
Yeah.
When you think about it, he's the one hanging the number, and he can make this go the other way if he wants to by posting, the number that he feels that you can get balance action for his accounting purposes. All right, let's get right into the MLB. We'll go to the forecast here. And we got a couple of double headers here on tap today, Ross. We got the Mets and Marlins, and we got the Angels and Houston. And just waiting for this to kick right in here. There we go. All right, first pitch today, 4:05. We got the Angels, Houston, minus 158 price, over under 9.5. You got Christian Javier going up against Jose Suarez of the Angels. Forecast leaning with the Angels here, 4.15, 4.03. The over under at 8.18. The Angels really took it on the chin last night, 11-4 against Houston, but Houston needed that because they had a really tough go in San Diego, and I think before that there was another, I think it was LA they were playing, or somewhere on the West Coast, I can't remember, but they didn't have a good outing prior to this game last night, but they finally got off the schneid and got that win.
Yeah, if you want to get off the schneid and get better, play the Angels.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous with the talent on that team, how they're so terrible right now.
Yeah, Miami taking on the New York Mets. Now, this is going to be another doubleheader game. They're getting the doubleheaders out early now. You know what? To be honest, This is kind of late for a doubleheader, 4 o'clock, because if this, you have long innings, your doubleheader can start at 9 o'clock the next game.
Well, the big good thing is it's only a 7-inning game, no, Ron. So.
Yeah, true. Now you got Miami taking on the Mets. You got no listed pitcher yet here. I don't see. I'm just taking a quick look. I see Gesselman going for the Mets here in the first one, but I don't see one for the Marlins yet. Maybe it is. No. Okay. So no line yet. So just for the purpose of this video, 5 to 4.39. The over-under at 9.39. The Mets now on a 5 days rest. They haven't played in 5 days. The over 4-0 for the Marlins in their last 4, coming off 11-8 win yesterday against the Washington Nationals. Man, you know what? This Marlins team, you got to give them credit. They don't go in the tank. They're just kicking around. And I got an email this morning from MLB, their newsletter, and I saw that they're shopping around for pitcher. And I was like, okay, they're going for it.
I mean, Ron, right now you're getting 8 teams to make the playoffs in each league. And if you look at the standings right now, this is a crucial series for both of these teams, because I believe the Marlins are right now, if the season were to end today, they'd be the number 8 seed, and the Mets, I believe, are just 1 game behind them.
Yeah,
so this series is going to be big in terms of playoff implications. And folks, I know we just started the year and we're talking about playoff implications, but there's only 1 month to go in the season, Ron. It's getting late early.
Yeah. Don't turn out the lights yet. Hey, and you know what? This might be an overstatement, but if the Mets lose 3 straight here, their season's done.
Yeah.
There'd be 6 games behind, and you got Atlanta and Miami ahead of them, unless they go in the tank. And I don't see Atlanta going in the tank, especially at home with that record they have.
With DeGrom going, I believe DeGrom is going to pitch one of the games in a doubleheader today. You got to think they have an excellent opportunity to come away with the win in that one, although I wouldn't lay that big a number, which it's going to be over minus 200 or more, I would assume.
Yeah,
but DeGrom on Hill,
I got a feeling we're going to start talking about some teams like, thinking for next year already. And I can't believe we're already talking about that. And it's, going in week 5 or 6.
Well, you know what, Ron? What's funny is, again, we just started. We're only not even to the halfway point yet. And the trade deadline is 6 days from now. So you're going to see some movement next week,
Wow.
Teams that are posturing for, and you're going to see. Now, here's the thing too. Normally at the trade deadline, you're getting a lot more sellers than buyers, because a lot of teams at that point are trying to get rid of salary, you know what I mean? Because they're out of contention and have no chance. And then there's the few teams that think they're 1 or 2 players away from being a legitimate playoff contender or a World Series contender. This year, with 8 teams in each league making the playoffs, you're going to see more teams stand pat, is my prediction there, Ron. And you're going to see if teams make moves, it's going to be because they're making moves not to get rid of salary, but to strengthen their position over the last month of the season.
Yeah, Philadelphia taking on the Washington Nationals. Looking at this line, you got minus 120 with Jake Arrieta going for the Phillies today, up against Eric Feedy of the Nationals. Now, Washington lost yesterday 11-8. Where the Phillies won that crazy ending game on the ESPN Sunday Night Game of the Week at home plate by sliding in and being safe, and won the game 5-4. Now, or I think it was a tagged out, right?
Yeah.
It was that. They tagged the Atlanta guy out. It was a great finish. It was a high drama. Now, looking at today's game, you got the Phillies 10-14 up against 11-15 for the Washington Nationals. I don't know if you put the same type of conversation, the Phillies and Angels were a bit disappointed with all that talent that the Phillies have, that they're only 10-14 on the year.
The difference being is the Angels bullpen hasn't been horrible. Phillies is absolutely atrocious. I mean, you look at their bullpen numbers on the year, I believe here it is right here. On the season, an 8.00 ERA and a 1.98 whip. That's absolutely brutal, Ron. That means no lead is safe for the Phillies. And I think that has a lot to do with it, especially in an era right now that we're living in, where starting pitchers are averaging less than 5 innings per outing. Talk about a cycle here. The Washington Nationals have gone over the total in their last 4 and 11 of their last 12 games.
Wow. Looking at the line here today, Ross, you got the Phillies minus 120. Our line on this game was plus 125. And the computer picked the algorithms 9.55. That's a high one. 5.1, the over-under at 14.65. And that's a huge number for the algorithms. But that's based on past history. So something, must have happened in the from 7 previous games. Maybe I'll look into that after. And
you look at again that over trend on Washington and the Phillies bullpen, right? You know what I mean? I think that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, Kogo's at 31%. Again, 10-14 in the year, 11-15 for your World Series champions. And looking at Washington in the standings, man, they're really looking up. They're all, but 4 games behind, but they still have the Mets, Marlins, and Braves ahead of them. And Phillies, same thing, 10-14. They're 4 games behind. So this is a big. Who'd have thought Washington could be the last place team in the National League East, right?
Yeah, well, they lost Anthony Rendon. They lose one of their star pitchers from last year. Strasburg's on the shelf. Their bullpen hasn't been great, and their hitting has been suspect at best.
Yeah, if it wasn't for bad luck, they'd have no luck at all, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Boston taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, Blue Jays are able to take that win yesterday. And we said it yesterday. Remember, Ross? We said if Snell doesn't go 6 innings, it could be trouble for the Rays. And sure enough, they knocked Snell out. I think he did 5 2/3. He did well. He left with a lead, but the bullpen couldn't hold it. And, that Tampa Bay bullpen has done a formidable job this year. They've done well. It just wasn't their day yesterday, and they need rest. That bullpen's need rest. But for the Blue Jays, credit to them, 6-4 win yesterday against Tampa Bay. They are now
split, right, Ron? They got to split it at series.
2-2. And, they did better than the Yankees. The Yankees didn't do too well against Tampa Bay, and the Yankees were at home. Now, looking at today's line, minus 126, 11.5 is the over-under. But we see a really high-scoring game here, Ross. But it's in Buffalo, and we've been talking about this. The hitter's ballpark, 6.94, 4.07. The over-under, 11.01. 68% chance of winning for Boston today against 57 for the Blue Jays, who are sending Chase Anderson up against Kyle Hart. And Boston on a 2-game losing streak. And looking at their record on the year, 9-20. We had the Blue Jays at plus 128. You're getting minus 126. So, you know what? At 126 against a Boston Red Sox team who are really struggling this year, might be a bargain here.
Yeah, and a struggling pitcher in Kyle Hart, who's made 2 starts with an 11.11 ERA. And that Boston bullpen, who we've picked on all year long, and rightfully so. Their last 7, as a matter of fact, the Boston bullpen, a 7.80 ERA, and they've allowed 11 home runs in 30 innings pitched during that 7 games. That Buffalo ballpark, I had to take a look at the dimensions there, Ron, because of the home runs have been going out of that park at an astronomical pace. And it's the same, pretty much the same as most major league ballparks in baseball. From everything I gathered from the Buffalo media, who's been covering the Toronto Blue Jays more extensively for obvious reasons, and them being the AAA team in Toronto, they had said that, it's historically been a ballpark where the wind blows out where it's located. And it didn't shock them in the least to see the amount of home runs who are being hit at the major league level in that park. Just a word of note.
Yeah, and Boston and Toronto at home this year, even though they played a couple of home games in Washington, when they get the last at bat, the over is 6-2 to the over.
Yeah.
So something you might want to consider today. Baltimore taking on Tampa Bay. Man, Tampa Bay can't get a break or a day off here, eh? They're just right back at it. And Tyler Glasnow going up against Tommy Maloney here today. Is it Malone or Maloney?
Malone.
Yeah, Malone of the Baltimore Orioles. Now the Rays a minus 210 price. The over-under set at 8. ATS forecast computer pick going with Baltimore here. 4.47, 4.2, over-under 8.67. Baltimore, 2-game win streak, coming off a 5-4 win in their last game on 1 day's rest, and they're playing a team that hasn't had a day's rest. Now, Ross, if you're looking for a situational angle, this might be a good play on Tampa Bay, and I'll tell you why. They just had a really grueling series with the New York Yankees. They had a tough series with the Tampa Bay Rays. Now they can have like a little a little breather here, like mentally against Baltimore, thinking, okay, it's Baltimore. It's not the Blue Jays or the Yankees. Maybe this is a good spot here for they come out flat, and you got Tyler Glass now, who he hasn't done well as Snell or Charlie Morton, but he's still a decent pitcher. But I think it might be a good spot here if you do like Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ron, this is a Baltimore team, 6-11 at home, even with those 2 wins in the last 2 days. But they're 8-3 on the road, and you know what's better than that, Ron? Is as a road underdog, a plus 150 or greater, which they are today. The Baltimore Orioles are 8-1 in that situation. That's incredible. You mentioned Tyler Glass now, bad form in his last 3 starts, an 8.02 ERA and a 186 WHIP. While Tommy Malone is in good form in his last 3 with a 3.37 ERA and a 1.19 WHIP. Case in point for what Ron just alluded to.
Yeah, and as a road underdog, Ross, going on that note, averaging 7.2 runs for in their game, 5.2 against. So, good stat right there on the Baltimore Orioles. Now, New York Yankees haven't played in a while. They're on 4 days rest, and they're going to play their first one here against the Atlanta Braves. Garrett Cole getting the call here. I don't see a pitcher yet for Atlanta.
Yeah, I didn't have one listed either, Ron.
I'm seeing Touki Toussaint, but I thought he pitched on Friday or Sunday. I don't know. But anyways, he's scheduled here on the sportsbook that I'm looking at. So just verify your sportsbook, folks, to see who the starter is. But looking at the forecast, 5.95, 3.45, the over-under at 9.4. Still don't see a line. I see a total here at 9, but I don't see a line. I'll just do a refresh. But you know what? Yankees, they're supposed to get Judge back. The Judge is supposed to be back today, and that's going to help, right?
Yeah, I mean, it better. I mean, the Yankees are smarting after losing the last 3 in that series against Tampa Bay. They've had a lot of time to think about it, Ron. You know, an awful high total with Cole on the mound, but if it's Toussaint on the mound for Atlanta, he's really struggled this year. So this might be a game you might want to stay away from, folks.
Yeah, I'm seeing minus 200 with Cole, Ross. So, pretty chalky. Looking at Minnesota against Cleveland. Minnesota was my 5-star best bet yesterday in the premium pick section. And, folks, if you are interested in Ross Benjamin's picks or my selections, you can get them at rbwins.com for Ross or at ATS Stats. Or if you're interested in my selections, you can get them right here at atsstats.com. So, I went 1-1 yesterday. I had Cincinnati, but, I didn't miss with Minnesota. That bullpen, again, Romo came in there and just I don't know if you watched that game, but the Cleveland the dugout said something, I think it was in the 7th or 8th inning, and he just turned around and he did a gesture, and they were either giving him the boot there or something, but it was kind of funny that he got the last word by striking out that pitcher. I just love when Romo goes out. When he goes out there, he's just animated.
He's entertaining, yes.
Yeah, he's entertaining, exactly.
It's that beard coming down from the chin, which is his signature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's not like a 6'5" guy either,
No, he's a little guy.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what, Ron? These are in my opinion, these are 2 locks to make the playoffs in the American League this year. Cleveland, you'd be hard pressed to find a better pitching staff, starting rotation and bullpen combined. Minnesota's bullpen, I don't think a lot of people realize, besides yourself and me, how good Minnesota's bullpen really is. And they've been especially that good. And Minnesota hasn't even started hitting yet, Ron. This is basically the same team from a season ago to crack 310 home runs, which was a major league record. So watch out when the Twins start hitting.
Yeah, the only team better than the Twins right now is the Dodgers with 22 wins, and Minnesota and Oakland at 20 wins. Now, Rich Hill getting the toss here, the assignment today against it's going to be tough. Not going to be a walk in the park here. Shane Bieber going for the Cleveland Indians as a 170 price, over-under set at 8. And the ATS forecast, the computer pick, going to lean with the Twins here. 5.5, 3.63, the over-under at 9.13. Now, looking at the Kogo here is at 76%. Bieber's last 5 starts when he gets the call, the under is 1-4. And again, Minnesota on a 3-game win streak. This is going to be another good matchup, and another one I'm probably going to watch again tonight.
Yeah, 6 starts for Bieber this year, 5 unders, and his 1.11 ERA and 0.76 WHIP have a lot to do with those low-scoring affairs. This is also, guys, been overpowering, Ron. He struck out 65 men in 40 2/3 innings pitched this year. One thing I will say, Minnesota has probably done as good against Bieber, this current roster, than anybody in baseball. They're hitting the current roster right now in their careers are hitting 299 against Bieber. And considering how great a pitcher he is, Ron, that's a pretty good average. So just a word of note there. I mean, it might not be as big a lock as you think it might be with Bieber on the mound against Hill.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a good pitching matchup with Bieber going. My only concern with Minnesota, looking at their road record coming off a win, only 3-4 in their next game, so that's my only concern. Looking at initially right now, but again, once the show's over, I go right into work and I start doing more research. Yep. Chicago taking on Detroit Tigers. The Cubs coming off a 9-3 win yesterday over these Tigers. 138 is the price. Over under set at 9.5. ATS forecast computer pick sees Detroit here 7.25, 5.25. The over under at 12.5. The Tyler Chatwood going for the Cubs today against Spencer Turnbull for the Tigers. Last 4 starts, 3-1. The Tigers' record is when he gets the nod. The last 2 games have gone over the total for Detroit. 11-16 on the year, and for Chicago. 2-game win streak. They won that last one against the White Sox with Hugh Darvish getting the good outing right there. And now you got Tyler Chatwood. Cubs 18-10. And looking at the division, Ross, I'm going to say it again. Watch out for St. Louis because I thought this weekend was going to be a turning point where in a week or two you're going to say, hey, where did the St. Louis Cardinals team come from? And the Cards, they have a history of always being up there in the National Central, right? Yeah,
they're solid. I mean, I had some questions about their hitting before the season began, meaning St. Louis. They really impressed me yesterday because they're so disciplined at the plate as a team, working the count and getting the count in their favor, not afraid to take a walk. Anyway, getting back to this matchup, Ron, some weird home and away splits here for both of these teams. The Tigers are 7-6 on the road, which isn't bad, but they're 4-10 at home. And the Cubs, on the other hand, just 10-8 at Wrigley Field. But I mentioned this yesterday; they're now 8-2 on the road after yesterday's win.
Yeah, and 7-3 to the over. So a lot of high-scoring games for the Cubs on the road. In fact, when they're a road favorite, Ross, I have them at 5-1, averaging 5.67 runs for and giving up 5 against. Though, so that's a little concerning. Kogo here at 41%. I had this line, Ross, at 166 for the Cubs. So you're getting value at 138. And, I think, it's a mismatch. And looking at my strength of schedule here, when the Chicago Cubs are on the road against a C-type team, so a team that's below 500 in the standings, they are 5-2 straight up and 5-2 against to the over/under. And these are games that you got to win. Like there's no, this ain't the month of May where you get a break here. This is like August, September, and you got to win these games, right?
Winnable games, right?
Yeah, you got to win these games. And and I think we can make an argument. This is the playoffs right now for some of these teams.
Yep.
For some of these teams. Oakland taking on the Texas Rangers. Now, I don't see a total on this game here, but I'm going to take a quick peek here. I do see 8.5 and 9, but mostly 8.5. Minus 145 seems to be the price here. I see 155 and 160 at bookmaker. Sean Manaea going for the Oakland Athletics today up against Kyle Gibson. I know you mentioned him a few times this season. And looking at the forecast, Ross, 7.25 for Texas, 5.25 for the Oakland Athletics. The over-under at 12.5. My question is this: will Oakland, will they have a hiccup? They don't seem to go through a losing streak long, and it's just is this the time now where Oakland's going to have their first hiccup of the year?
Well, look, they should have no excuse in this series. They lost 3-2 yesterday. This is a Texas team that's not hitting. Kyle Gibson, you mentioned him, that I've touched upon him on a couple occasions now. This is atypical for Gibson. He's been up and down throughout his career, no consistency. 5 starts this year, and go figure, Ron, his best start of the year was at Coors Field. Other than that, he's been terrible. So that just signifies his career. And Sean Manaea, coming off a good outing, but he struggled on the road this year. 1-2 on the road with a 6.75 ERA and a 1.67 WHIP. this is a Oakland team also that's had 102 at-bats. The current roster against Gibson, 26 for 102, a 303 team batting average. That's pretty good. And, the Texas bullpen, this is a bullpen mismatch. Over the last 7 games, Texas bullpen is 7.57 ERA, while Oakland is their bullpen has been great all year, and over the last 7, an 0.68 ERA. So again, if it wasn't for the questionable pitching match of Sean Manaea, I would love Oakland in this spot. This may be a game I just steer clear of.
Yeah, good point. Looking at Manea's last 3 starts, the run support's there, 6.67, but giving up 5 in those. So you're talking a total of 11. And the total I see was 8.5, 9, I said. So
yeah.
Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Chicago White Sox. Now, looking at our email this morning from MLB, their newsletter, looks like they're shopping around Trevor Williams and Cool, and it looks like Toronto might be buying. So something to watch out there. Pittsburgh heading into this game off a 5-4 win. Actually, they swept the Brewers, and they're on 1 day's rest. They're on a 3-game win streak. Stephen Bro going up against our guy, Lucas Giolito, today for the White Sox. Minus 230 is the price. You know what, Ross? Chicago White Sox had a really, they took 2 or 3 of the Cubs at Wrigley. That's pretty good. And now, 17 and 12 in the year. My only concern here is that they underestimate the Pirates. But is Pirates going to play like they did against Milwaukee and, taking on the White Sox today? Hopefully the White Sox aren't overlooking the Pirates here.
Yeah, the White Sox haven't had enough success in recent history to overlook anybody. And then the question mark becomes, as we touched upon in Giolito's last start, which Lucas Giolito is going to come out today? The one that was outstanding in his last outing where he pitched 7 scoreless innings and struck out 13, or the guy who's gone 1-10 in his last 11 team starts at home? Pittsburgh's going with Stephen Brault, as Ron alluded to. And Brault has the good news for Brault is in 4 starts this year, he's given up no earned runs. But he's only pitched three innings per start. So that tells me he's on a pitch count, or that's all they're expecting him to do. When that comes into play, now let's talk about the bullpens. Pittsburgh's bullpen is absolutely brutal, and the Chicago White Sox bullpen is the most underrated in baseball right now. When I say that, I'm not saying they're the best, but they're flying under the radar, Ron. You look at especially over their last 7 games or last 8 games in which they've gone 7-1, their bullpen has been lights out.
Yeah, tough spot for the Bucks. They're 2-9 as a road underdog this season. Kogo at 30%, but chances of winning are very low for both teams. That's because both teams, have been winning of late. 35% chance of winning according to the law of average theory, compared to 37 for the White Sox.
How about this, Ron?
Yep.
In the month of August, interleague home favorites, teams playing a team from the other league of 200 or greater. Interleague home favorites of 200 or greater in the month of August since 1997, 58-8. So
Wow.
Good luck if you're thinking about taking the Pirates today. And of course, I never recommend using that big a number. If anything, folks, look to use the White Sox on the run line here.
Or you put the White Sox in a parlay, right? Put them with another selection. That's a solid stat. Yeah, no, that's good to know. Duly noted, Mr. Benjamin. Cincinnati taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Now the Brew Crew here, a 146 favorite. I'm just going to take a little glance here. Actually, I'm seeing 111 now. Woodruff against Castillo, and looking at the forecast here, Ross, we got 5.23, 1.73 going for Cincinnati. 78% chance of winning for Cincy, who've lost 3 straight now. The last 4 have gone under the total, and Milwaukee. Another win, no, not another win. They got swept, but their first win yesterday against the Brew Crew. That was a pretty good game. It went down to the bottom of the 9th. They needed to get that ground out to complete the win. But, this is going to be a tough one for the Reds. Brandon Woodruff here going for the Brew Crew today. I had the line here at plus 120 and minus 150 for Cincinnati. But you know what? With Woodruff here on the mound, I think Milwaukee might deserve another look.
The 2 most disappointing teams in the National League thus far this season, hands down, the Cincinnati Reds and the Milwaukee Brewers. Milwaukee did come off their 4-2 win yesterday. Yes, Ron. But you know what? This is a team that's, again, struggling to hit. They've had 7 hits or less in each of their last 5 games. And Luis Castillo at Miller Park in Milwaukee has really struggled. In his 3 career starts there, an 8.31 ERA and a 2.00 WHIP. Brandon Woodruff in 3 career starts at home against Cincinnati, a 7.43 ERA and an 11.50 WHIP. Milwaukee's got the better bullpen. That's where I would give them the edge in this matchup.
Yeah, I got conflicting numbers here, but you know, the only thing that concerns me with Milwaukee, I agree. I think Milwaukee is the play here, but 0-4 at home this year, coming off a win. So
yeah,
the consistency is their issue, right? They just they can't string some winning streaks together. They can do some losing streaks pretty good.
Yeah, but you know, and it's surprising, Ron, because I think they're 3-6 at home on the year, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I know it's not good. Let's put it that way. And this is a Milwaukee Brewers team that over the last 2 years has been an excellent home team, and they can't, you know, barring that win yesterday, they haven't really had much success at home this year.
Yeah, and they're only, you know what? Here's a stat that'll probably make you head scratch. They've only averaged 3.6 runs for at home this season, and that's in your, you know, you got Braun and Illich in the lineup, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Mets Marlins, we talked about that earlier. This will be the second twin bill, 8-10. I'll give the over. I think that's a 9 o'clock start, maybe. Kansas City taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, the Cards had no problems yesterday against Kansas City, winning 9-3. I'm going to take a look at this Cardinals team down the stretch here. I think they're a team that I'm going to put in my – I always put a trio of teams that I fly under the radar. I might have to knock out – I was going to knock out Miami, but they're proving me wrong a bit. But Detroit or Baltimore might have to take a bump for the Cards here. 165 is the price. Over-under set at 7.5. ATS forecast, computer pick. Going to lean with Kansas City, 5.13, 5.09. The over-under at 10.22. Matt Harvey getting the call here up against a tough Adam Wainwright. This is going to be a tough one here for Kansas City. St. Louis, winner of 3 straight. And the Kogo here today set at 60%. We had St. Louis at plus 104. You're getting 165, so they're way overvalued here. But we had Kansas City at 179, and they're not up to snuff right now. 83% chance of winning for Kansas City, 22 for the Cardinals. I don't see how you go against St. Louis here.
Yeah, I picked the Cardinals to win the NL Central before the season. I did an article for OSGA. My big concern was their hitting, but boy, if they continue to pitch the way they're pitching, Ron, all they need to do is be mediocre offensively. And Adam Wainwright, 3-0 this year, and his team starts with 2.00 ERA and 0.83 WHIP, and he's given him innings, Ron. He's averaging 6 innings per start. In the St. Louis bullpen over the last 7, a 2.52 ERA. And Matt Harvey, this is the guy who looked like he was going to be a sure shot Hall of Famer when he started his career, his first 2 years. And now he's just hanging on as a 5th starter in any rotation who picks him up. But this guy, in his career, 23-45 in his team starts, meaning Matt Harvey when he's facing winning teams greater than 500 win percentage. So, yeah, I agree, Ron. You'd be hard pressed to make a case for Kansas City in this spot.
Yeah, Kansas City in a tough role here as a road underdog, only 3-11. But what's even more concerning is they're only averaging 2.71 runs for in those 14 games. So that's, they're not getting much run support. So Matt Harvey, you better, you might have to do it alone. Might have to do a Lance Lynn impression here.
Yeah.
Seattle taking on the San Diego Padres. The Padres a 190 favorite. Over/under set at 8. ATS forecast, computer pick. Gonna go with the Padres here. The Slam Diego Padres, 3.59, 3.09. The over/under set at 6.68. So it does like a low-scoring game. You got Chris Paddock going to the mound against Marco Gonzalez, and you know what? Seattle 3-game win streak, even though it was at home. Their last win against Texas, well, I think they swept the Rangers in that series, and now. You're getting a well-rested Padre team. 1 day's rest is now considered a well-rested team, eh, Ross?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, 7-game win streak. San Diego, man, watch out. This team is, they're a pretty good team, and I think they're going to give the Dodgers a run for their money in the West. 49% chance of winning here for the over to go under, 27% chance on the Cal, 32 for Seattle. This line could be minus 300 in my books. I think San Diego still wins.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Chris Paddock has not pitched up to snuff this year, but he's a lot better than what his record and statistics show. Marco Gonzalez, you never know what you're going to get from him. He's had some good outings this year, so I wouldn't put it past him to put together 5 good innings here. The one thing that really scares me about going under in this spot is the fact San Diego, I had them on Sunday, Ron. They hit 5 home runs in the first 2 innings of that game, and they lead the National League in home runs this year. I mean, that Tatis kid is just outstanding. And that would make it awful difficult for me to go under here, especially in light of the fact that Seattle's going to have to use their bullpen at least probably 4 innings or more in at least 3, and the Seattle bullpen's horrible.
Yeah, and what's unfortunate for the Padres is that they got the Dodgers in the division. So, and as well as they're playing at 18-12, they're still 4 games behind. So these are games they have to win. You can't let the foot off the pedal here. You got to keep putting it down and start. And you can't let a team like Seattle come into your barn or your stadium and just get that win, right? Those are games, and this is like, again, we say it all the time. It's like August, September right now for these teams. You got to keep winning, even though it's halfway through the season.
But Ron, the bad news is they're 4 games behind the Dodgers, and probably unlikely they're going to overtake them for the division. The good news is there's 8 teams in each league to make the playoffs, and San Diego right now looks like a lock to me, unless something drastically changes. And you never know at playoff time, Ron. You know what I mean? All you got to do is make the dance, and you get some hot starting pitching. And if you hit the way the Padres have been hitting this year, especially with the long ball, they could beat anybody.
Yeah. Oh, no. It's just, but you always want a home field advantage, right?
Yeah. And you know what, Ron? The trade deadline coming up next week, look for San Diego to bolster their bullpen, because if they have a weakness, that's where it is.
Yeah, great point. I agree 100%. Like I said earlier, some of these teams like the Marlins are shopping, Toronto shopping. San Diego's right in there too, so they could be in some of these sweepstakes for some of the pitchers that are on the market right now. Colorado taking on Arizona. The D-backs 143 price, over-under set at 10. Merrill Kelly late scratch yesterday, Ross, and we talked about it at the beginning of the season, like sportsbook like bookmaker. There's no listed pitcher, so what you get, whoever you had at 9.5 yesterday with Kelly, and I forget the pitcher who came in, but that's the total you got, and we got the window. 3-2 was our free play selection here on the ATS stats, and it was a nice little win, 3-2 win. It got Colorado back in the win column, and Arizona 6-game losing streak. Not going well for the D-backs right now, sending Alex Young against Herman Marquez today. But the under is 5-0 in his last 5 starts for the Rockies. Do we see another under here today, Ross?
Oh, boy, I mean, Colorado doesn't hit on the road, and their bullpen is very good on the road. In Arizona, I believe you said they were on an under roll, Ron, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the 6 unders in a row.
Yeah, so it might be a good shot at the under here. I'd have to take a further look at it, but off the cuff, based on what we just discussed, I would say I would lean toward the under.
Yeah, the under right now, Ross, for Colorado as a road underdog, 3-10-0. And looking at the teams at home, the home teams this season, Ross, coming off a home loss as a favorite, 23-42-2 to the under. And so looks like an under,
That's like 65%.
That's pretty solid.
So again, folks, that's a pretty good stat. Keep that in mind, what Ron just said. If a team is coming off a home favorite straight loss, like Arizona did yesterday, 43-22-1 to the under. So that's awfully strong.
Hey, on a handicapping note, Ross, this is something that I've made an adjustment to my handicapping this year. Because this is a special season, this is not unlike any other season we've seen before. When I do my research now, Normally I'll do like last 2 years, 3 years, 5 years into my research. This year, I'm basing a lot of my decision on the current season.
Yep.
Because I can't really take into effect the last 2, 3, 5 years because it's just not the same.
No.
I don't know how do you feel about that?
I feel strongly the same way. I mean, because again, I can't remember in my recent history or probably throughout my career where starting pitchers are averaging less than 5 innings per start. Bullpens are at a premium right now. You need to keep. I keep saying this, and I'll say it again. You need to look at bullpens when you handicap a game, and again, you're getting a lot of double headers, Ron, which pretty much for me and you eliminates a couple games off the board. So there's a lot of differences, and again, you got to look at some of the trends that are happening within this current season. Now that we're reaching a halfway point, especially.
Yeah, no, to be honest, if this wasn't, let's say this was 2019 and I'm handicapping, I'm putting maybe 40% emphasis on starting pitchers, where this year I'm putting maybe 25.
Yeah. No, there's no two ways about it.
Yeah, that's how I feel about that. All right. And that's when you got the Raymond Report with Sports Betting Podcast with Ross Benjamin. We don't just talk.
You want to look at the Dodgers and Giants game, or
No. I'm just trying to give a little plug here for the show,
I
Ross. Come on, work with me, buddy. Work with me.
I was gonna say I'm not that bad a company, am I right?
I'm gonna need that Norm Peterson, Cliff Clavin buzz there. Remember that show, Cheers? Hey, whenever was it Cliff Clavin would get off track, they'd buzz him. I'll have to get a Raymond Report buzzer here. LA Dodgers taking out the San Francisco Giants. Now the Dodgers a 195 price, over-under set at 9. ATS forecast, the computer pick. Gonna lean with the Dodgers here, Ross. 6.84, 4.59. The over-under set 11.43. Man, LA just rolling along at 22-8. Just 22-8. Just another day at the park. 14-6 for San Francisco. My guy Johnny Cueto, who played the Dodgers in the first game of the year. I think he did very well. He went like 5 or 6 innings, and with the bullpen just didn't support him there. Julio Urias going for the Dodgers, 6.84, 4.59. The over/under at 11.43. Ross, 6-game winning streak for the Giants. Break out the champagne. They're going to the dance. And 4-game winning streak for the Dodgers. Here's the bad news. You got the Dodgers today at 9:45 Eastern.
All kidding aside, San Fran's 14-16, and they're like a game out of the number 8 seed in the National League. So that champagne is on ice right now.
Yeah.
A lot of high-scoring games at home this year for the Giants. Their bullpen is really shaky, but it's so tough for me to go over the total when Urias is a good starting pitcher, and their bullpen, the Dodgers bullpen, is just lights out as well.
Yeah. I'm looking at ESPN. They got this percentage of making the playoff for the Giants, 6.9%. So I think I'm going to put away that champagne until next year.
Even though they're 1 game out. So what they're probably looking at is their strength of schedule down the stretch, I would imagine,
exactly.
Ron.
Yeah. All right. Angels, Houston, we talked about that, Ross. This is the second bill today. That game is scheduled for 7:10 Eastern. Julio Teheran up against Lance McCullers Jr., I believe, is the starting pitchers. I'm just taking a quick look here.
It's game 2 of the doubleheader, Ron?
Yeah, game 2. So who knows, right? It's we're in the COVID situation, so we'll have to keep an eye out on the starting pitcher for the second game. But again, 5.21, 1.75 to over under 7. 170 is the price that I see right here, but that could change depending on the situations. And this is why I don't touch double headers, because something can happen in game number 1, and then who knows? You got a wholly complete lineup in game.
If indeed that's the starting pitcher matchup, I would take a good. And I'm not a doubleheader player, but I mean, I would take a look at what transpired in game 1, who they used, this would be a late play for me. I would want to know the lineups in game 2, and I would lean toward the over in this game because Julio Teheran has really struggled. Initially for the Angels. As a matter of fact, they put him in a bullpen for a short time. And Lance McCullers Jr. is not been a shell of himself this year. He's been a little bit erratic on and off. So If you're going to take a look at that game, that's a lean I would have, Ron.
Okay. Now, we're going to go to the 80% club. I think it did pretty well yesterday. I think we had the under yesterday. I forget the other play we had. I thought it did well. Just going to see this here, MLB. Let's see what's in the club here today, Ross. Oh, yeah, sure enough, got to go to a doubleheader one. Okay, the under is 11-1 for the Astros as a 140-160 home favorite coming off a win in game one of a series the last 10 years. Not a big surprise. Houston's, they've won the World Series. They've had a really good success the last 5 years. That's a pretty solid stat. Now, this one's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and again, so the viewers don't get confused. When you look at this stat, when coming off a win in game one of a series, which was yesterday, so this would be applied to game one of the doubleheader today.
Exactly. And here's an interesting one, Ross. If you're into the law of averages concerning the Cleveland-Minnesota game, the Cleveland Indians are 10-1 straight up as a 160-180 home favorite coming off a one-run loss the last 10 years. So, pretty good situation when you consider this line. It only factors a 160-180 favorite. And I'll go to another one here, Ross. I'm not going to touch that Rays one. Let's go to the Diamondbacks. Arizona 9-1 straight up as a 140-160 home favorite, coming off a game where they only scored 2 runs for in the last game, and that's the last 7 years. So pretty solid stat there for the Diamondbacks at 9-1. Pretty good show, buddy. Do you have anything you want to share with us today?
Yeah, you can go to my website, like Ron alluded to get my picks. rbwins.com, rossbenjaminsports.com. Ron, since July 29th, I'm 48-29 with my paid selections. Again, folks, when you buy subscriptions from me, and I'll give you the same guarantee at Ron's site, and I'm sure Ron's going to have no problem with this. When you buy a 7-day or 30-day package from me on either rbwins.com or atswins.com, atsstats.com, excuse me. If you don't make a profit at the end of that 7-day or 30-day subscription, I'll extend your package until you do. I don't think you have a problem with that, right, Ron?
Oh, hey. Yeah.
I can't guarantee it on a daily package, okay? So if you're a person who likes to dabble in once in a while, I can't give you that guarantee, but I can give you the guarantee on a 7-day and 30-day package. And again, that really hasn't come into play a lot for me this year because I've been winning at such a torrid rate since we returned from this COVID-19 thing. So, and again, check out our YouTube channels, OSGA and the Raymond Report, and subscribe, folks. It costs absolutely nothing. There's no hidden agenda. You're not obligated. You can cancel at any time, but I don't know why you would. But you'll be notified right away upon us releasing any of our sports betting videos on either channel, including this show right here, Ron.
Yeah, and if you go to ATS Stats, I give out my premium picks each and every day. They're up around after 2 o'clock, between 2 and 4, after I do all my research. And also, subscribe to our newsletter. Get our free newsletter in your inbox each day. Goes out around 2 o'clock, so hits the inbox. You get a free pick. You get stats. You get trends. You get horse racing selections. A lot of goodies in the toolbox here at atsstats.com. Hey, Ross, buddy, can you smell that? It's football. Hey, almost.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's like you're waiting for the balloon to burst with this COVID-19 thing, but the closer it gets to the start of the season, the more encouraging it gets, right, Ron? And
it's just another sport to talk about that we love. And I love baseball too. I know you do too. NBA and playoff is a different animal, right? Apples and oranges when you're handicapping playoff sports. To me, it's a total different mindset. But anytime you're doing the regular season baseball, and especially football and college football, we'll have a few games to handicap. We're going to have some great podcasts here, folks. You won't want to miss it. It's on our YouTube channel, ATS Stats, Rain Report, and OSGA on YouTube for Ross Benjamin. And, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, buddy, good show today. Hopefully, folks, if you do enjoy these shows, just one like will put a smile on our face, and it lets us know that we have a lot of people who enjoy these shows. And don't be scared to give us a comment. We'd like to hear your feedback. I haven't heard from our friends from Ghana and Mexico lately. Hopefully, they're still with us. 'cause we can't even walk the streets in Ghana anymore, eh, Ross?
Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants us outside of the U.S. here, So
Yeah. So,
anyway,
oh man. So, all right. Hey, great show, buddy. As always, shop for value, play those percentages. We'll see you back shortly with another Raymond Report.